We are pleased to welcome special guest Andrew Ference, former Boston Bruin, and of course, very familiar with the Jimmy Fund and the Telethon because of your time here. So, Andrew, first of all, thank you for taking the time to join us. But why don't we start with that and your memories of what this radio telethon and what the hospital visits meant to you guys as athletes to be part of this Boston community?
Well, thanks for welcoming me back. It's great to be on with you again, see you all. Actually, I think my first memory when I think of it was I think my very first time ever in Fenway was for one of the telethons and jumping on and getting to see the ballpark and obviously learn a lot about what Boston was all about. Obviously, over my years there, I learned a lot more about just the incredible fundraising capacity of that city and how generous the people of Boston are. And throughout the years, a lot of friendships in the cycling world. Obviously, I like biking a lot, so learning about the Pan Mass Challenge and the extraordinary numbers that are put up there, all for Dana-Farber. So yeah, I mean, it's just I spread the Boston gospel all over the place wherever I travel in the world about the quality of the people and the quality of the institutions within that city. It's just incredible.
Yeah, you mentioned spreading the Boston gospel. I think that's a beautiful way to put it, seeing as how you had such a hand in involvement around here, but also, social impact for the NHL. It's how I first met you at the sled hockey for USA, I think it was, and you were talking about just all the many ways that you're involved community-wise. So just kind of expand upon that for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, what do we take pride in, right? Like, what I don't know. I always picture, being an old man and looking back on life, and what's the stuff that really matters, and obviously, having the luxury and the opportunity to be an athlete in Boston and it being such a great sports city, there's a lot of opportunity. Not everybody takes it, but if you're an athlete in a city like that, like I said, has the institutions, has the great people, and you want to get involved and do good things. I mean, there's really no end to the opportunity. And for me, I was really passionate about, a number of different things, but environmental initiatives and getting kids involved in sport. And I was able to carry that on post career with my work at the NHL. And I think as hockey players and as a team like the Bruins and as a league like the NHL, we take a lot of pride in what hockey culture is and, what we want it to be and to make sure that we keep, cultivating those good parts of our culture, over and over. And that's not doing, superhero work. It's just, getting involved, doing little things like volunteering, making sure that you help coach. If you can do the bigger things because you have the platform to do it, then you do it. You help raise money and you get involved in the local charities and things that you're passionate about. So everybody can do it. You don't have to be an athlete. Obviously, you don't have to be a superstar or anything like that. But you're definitely given a lot more opportunity, I think, to do that. So yeah, at the NHL, like we want to make sure that we're passing on what we learned, throughout careers like myself, and teach the young kids about the importance of getting involved in your community and the good things that are already happening and how it really can enrich your own life and meet new friends. And I think of my friendships in Boston and sure, like I could look at Bergie and Z and some of my players that I played with, but I know I do. I have way more friendships outside of the game, and people that every time I come through Boston, I go through the neighborhood and North End and go see my buddy at Polcari's and it's free. Get my coffee and go visit my buddy who's a Army Ranger and the cops up in Cambridge, and you just meet incredible people, that are involved. Like I said, doing great things in that city.
Listen, I want to take it in so many different directions, but because we have you and there's so much excitement around the Bruins' newest head coach, but not new to Boston, of course, Marco Sturm, just wanted to get your take on, he said in his press conference, like, what a treat, what a pleasure to be back here in the city, and his kids are going to be going to school here. I believe your daughter's going to go to school in Boston or is committed this fall in Boston. I think we talked about that, but anywho, coming full circle, what can you say about Marco Sturm and what he could bring to the Boston Bruins as a head coach?
Well, I'll touch on the first part with my daughter. She's going into her third year at Harvard.
Okay, third year. Okay, yeah.
So shout out to them. Go watch Harvard women's rugby too, because they're really, really good. And she she's more than thrilled to obviously, go back to Boston, having grown up there, and it does feel like home to her. And I get a great excuse to come back there often. As far as Marco, I mean, I was thrilled obviously to see him get the opportunity. He's such a tremendous, character, and I really do believe, like certain cities, they have their character of what they need from the Bruins, and just that hardworking, gritty, proud style that Marco played with. I know it transfers into his coaching and what he's done. So I really do. I know that last year didn't end so great, and people are eager for playoffs and more success and winning. And that it's hard, right? It's hard in the NHL, but to have somebody like that at the helm that's going to set the tone, and I just talked about it in my last answer, like pass on the culture of like what really is important, and what matters, and Marco knows that. He knows what matters to the fans that come and watch the Bruins and throw in the jersey and what they care about, and that bigger picture of what it means to be a hockey player, and what can give you a long career versus the guys that just come in and out and don't stick around. So he'll be such a good mentor to some of those young guys, and hopefully bring quick success to the Bruins.
Speaking of mentorship, quickly, you know what it's like to be promoted from an A on your chest to a C on your chest. We might be walking into a new season with a vacant captaincy. Kind of your thoughts on that and some of the guys that might have the potential to step up this year.
Oh, honestly, I don't know. I kind of say that I'll give maybe two answers, but I've had some incredible captains, no doubt. From the start of my career with Mario Lemieux and Jerome McGinley in Calgary, obviously Z in Boston. But the best leadership is by committee. It really is. No matter who's wearing the letters. When I talk about the teams that I had the most success with and the teams that had the best leadership, it really was everybody chipping in with what they could provide, and everybody having a voice at the table. The way I think about it is like, no matter how fast you skate or how hard your shot is or how good your hands are, that has nothing to do, like literally nothing to do with how good of a leader you can be. And I think that we understood that, the years that we were winning, and the year obviously we won the cup. Our fourth line guys that, might have gotten a couple minutes of ice and contributed in different ways with their skills, were equal contributors, if not, more than equal, in the locker room with their insights and their leadership, and setting the culture and the tone of what our team needed to be. So I think that's the most important. I think sometimes by default, we do think that the best player, whether they're skilled or fast or whatever, is automatically a leader, and that's just not the case. And the cultures that understand that, I think, do a lot better. So I don't think there's any problem, not having a C, and I think it's maybe a good storyline for podcasts and whatnot, but it really doesn't have a huge impact if you have that kind of team culture of leadership, and everybody knowing that they're part of part of building what you're trying to build. It's not up to one person.
Yeah, and it feels like the Bruins understand that in the room with the guys that have stayed there and were not traded at the deadline, and those like Sean Crawley that are coming back. Andrew, you know how TV works. It's a quick in and out. Thank you so much for your time. We do have to send it to break, but thank you again for being part of this telethon. I know we can tell how passionate the community here in Boston is for you. So thanks again for your time, guys. We've got to send it to break, but remember, tons of ways to donate. 877-738-1234. Text K-Cancer to 56512. We'll be right back after this.